Welcome to Mordors Regional Pit Fighting Championship Strategic Debrief and Recap. I'm your host, Potates, and after 4 action-packed qualifying matchups, we finally have our semi-finalist lineup. So today, I will be recapping the Orcs that made it this far, discussing their skills and what they need to do to win each fight. And finally, I'll run through how you can cast your vote for one of those Orcs to enter yourself into the running to win a game of $50 USD. Those who didn't win will still be mentioned in the finals video for getting a right prediction, so make sure you keep watching. Alright, so let's talk about the Orcs that got this far. The first Orc to make it to the semi-finals was Tuka the Pretender. This Orc has been the talk of the championship, most expecting him to take it all. In his matches, he combined an unbreakable defense with well-timed offense. Being a pretender, he has no real advanced class, but he does use bombs and he does use decoys from the trickster. This gives him a massive advantage. Tuka is immune to fire and curse damage, meaning the few of the combatants that get advantages from these damages will be nullified. Though he isn't immune to its damage, he's enraged by poison. The only Uruk in the comp that uses poison is Ratak Tasty, who seems to actually enrage a lot of people. If he has trouble locking down an enemy, he always has his Tribe Bolus to throw at them. Being a defender grants obvious perks, but also having thick-skinned means he'll be one of, if not the hardest combatant to bring down in this tournament. He uses fire weapons and fire bombs, and his decoys are granted the ability to apply fire to their targets as well, so Tuka will have no trouble applying it to whoever he needs to. Comparing him to the other combatants, we see he's immune to the elements from Pushkrimp, Arpratu, and Orthog. He is enraged by Ratak's poison. Shekhar and Ratak are both immune to his fire, and the fire enrages Orthog. The second Orc to make it through to the semi-finals was Skoth the Lookout, who surprised everyone who wasn't looking out. Skoth showed that the capable archer was competitive and is well and truly the underdog of this comp, with the lowest predicted odds of winning. He is immune to curse damage and not enraged by anything. He is, however, a trickster, so he can get in and out of danger fairly easily and has a gang of archers who can provide a distraction. He is also part of the Marauder tribe, so has access to Hail of Bolts, which he has used to great effect with great strength, making him incredibly deadly. If an attack from Skoth lands, it lands hard. Comparing him to the other combatants, we see he's immune to Pushkrimp's curse damage, but is enraged by no one. He is also resisted by no one and enrages no one. Having no elemental damage type is both a pro and con. Anything can happen, no matter who he's matched up with. The first match is between Tuka and Skoth. Skoth, who on paper has no counter, however Tuka has that defender shield and a lot of decoys. Skoth has archers to distract the decoys, but they won't last long, so Tuka just needs to focus him down and stop him utilizing his range. His attacks hit hard, but as long as Tuka blocks them and keeps that fire damage and panic up, he could win convincingly. Tuka is Skoth's hardest fight, which is one of the reasons his odds are so low. If Skoth is to win this matchup, he has to utilize his smoke bombs to get away and take advantage of his archers providing a distraction. He needs either to burn Tuka down fast or take out his decoys with the time he has. If he splits his attention, he will most likely fall. If Tuka takes the match, he will then be fighting Shekhar or Ratak in the finals. On paper, he wants to be fighting Ratak, as he gets enraged by the poison damage, though we know being enraged isn't enough to win. Ratak resists Tuka and puts out great strength unresisted damage. Also, if any class can take on the defender, it's a hunter who can swing around shields and stab from the back. Tuka would need to make sure he can lock down Ratak and stop the trickster from getting away. Shekhar is a different story. Shekhar is immune to fire and has triple strike. If not blocked, that could be a problem for Tuka. However, Tuka would find it much easier to lock down Shekhar if he can maintain that defense and outlast the enraged by everything. If he does, Shekhar will be dazed and will be easy pickings. If Tuka makes it to the grand final, he'll be fighting either Pushkrimp, Arpratu, Orthog, or Mog. The best matchup for him though is Pushkrimp, as Tuka is immune to his curse damage and his fire damage will still apply. Also, getting off the dazed effect on Push Crimp won't be too hard to achieve. His worst matchup is Orthog of Lithlad, as Orthog is immune to fire and enraged by it. This means he'll always be angry and unrelenting. If Tuka is to win this matchup, he needs to keep the guard up and push back Orthog with every swing, like we've seen before. If Skoth gets past Tuka's unbreakable defense, he will have a much easier time taking it all. He'll be facing either Shekhar or Ratak in the finals, and will prefer to match up against Shekhar. Shekhar is required to get up close to deal with Skoth, but Skoth can use his smoke bombs and archers to distract. A few good hits and Shekhar will drop if he plays the match right. If Shekhar gets enraged by everything, Skoth may be in trouble, but if he outlasts it, Skoth can easily take the win while Shekhar is dazed. Ratak is Skoth's second hardest fight. Against Ratak, range won't be Skoth's friend. Ratak will put out more damage as his poison will apply. Plus, Ratak can use Smoke Bomb to catch back up and use his faster melee. For Skoth to win, he needs to outplay Ratak. He would need to utilize those Marauder crossbows to deal tremendous damage to Skoth's paper health. If Skoth makes it to the finals, he'll be facing down Push Crimp, Arpratu, Orthog, or Mog. His best matchup is against Arpratu. Archers typically have a slight advantage over the slow to attack Ologs, but Skoth doesn't resist the fire, so he needs to watch out. If he is to win, he needs to apply the damage fast and keep out of danger. His archers will hopefully provide a distraction for the Olog, and a mix of great strength and hail of bolts should take the win. The other three seem equally annoying for him to deal with, one being enraged when low health and the other two being defenders. However, Push Crimp might be his easiest matchup, as taking down his Ologs won't be hard, and then Skoth can unleash the pain while Push Crimp is dazed. The third Orc to make it through to the semi-finals was Shekhar Brainbiter, and this Uruk is unpredictable as they come, getting enraged with no warning and or dishing out the rapid strikes. He's immune to poison and fire, making him surprisingly tanky. He is enraged by everything, so without warning, he can snap and start attacking like a fiend. He is also a slayer, so has that triple strike, which has won him many matches. He can also throw out those slaughterer cleavers to those who want to keep him at range. He takes extra damage from beasts, but that won't be a problem in this tournament. And he is exhausted after enraged wears off, making him vulnerable. He really needs to work on his cardio. Comparing him to other combatants, we see he's immune to Tuka, Ratak, Arpratu, and Orthog's elemental weapons, but is enraged by no one's. He is, however, enraged randomly. He is resisted by no one and enrages no one. The fourth Orc to make it through the semi-finals is Ratak Tasty. He has long tasted his victory and has taken out opponents using his versatility and huge power. He's immune to both fire and curse damage, and since he's the only poison user that made it through, he doesn't need to worry about it. He's a trickster, so he's able to get in and out of danger with a stun, which works well since he's a hunter and can use both melee and ranged damage depending on who he's fighting. If he needs to get in, he can use his feral claws and ravage his opponent. The fact that he has great strength makes his attacks even more deadly, and if his opponent isn't immune to his poison, he can play the long game. He truly is the most versatile combatant in the competition. If we compare him to the other combatants, we can see he's immune to Tuka, Push Crimp, Arpratu, and Orthog's elemental damage. He's enraged by nothing. Shekhar and Arpratu resist his poison, and Tuka, Orthog, and Mog are enraged by it. The second match is between Shekhar Brainbiter and Ratak Tasty. Ratak has the range and ways to escape, but if Shekhar can rage out or lock Ratak down, he can quickly burn through Ratak's mediocre defenses. Shekhar resists Ratak's poison, so he doesn't need to worry about the match being dragged out as long as he gets the final hit. If Ratak can keep Shekhar at range and wait until he's dazed, Ratak will take the win. If Shekhar goes through to the finals, he'll be facing either Tuka or Skoth. We've talked a bit about these matchups already, but Tuka, he needs to breach, and Skoth, he needs to stay onto. Both, he will have a much easier time if he whittles down, then enrages to finish. Enraging too early will cost him the match. If Shekhar makes it through to the grand final, he'll be facing either Push Crimp or Arpratu, Orthog or Mog. Besides the resistance to Arpratu and Orthog's fire, they neither have an advantage to nor disadvantage against Shekhar. Defenders will be a problem regardless, and Orthog can self-enrage himself by lighting his slayers on fire then running into him. The strategy is the same for all four. Keep the pressure on, get enraged, and finish the fight with overwhelming offense. If Ratak makes it through the finals though, he'll be in the fight between either Tuka or Skoth. He prefers to fight against Skoth as he counters him in a lot of ways discussed, but he might also be okay against Tuka, even though he'll keep Tuka enraged. If he's to win, he needs to keep Tuka at range and keep Skoth in melee. Versatility truly is the key for him. If he makes it to the grand final, he'll be fighting either Pushcrimp, Arpratu, Orthog, or Mog, and Ratak should have an easy time against Pushcrimp, Arpratu, and Mog, if he can keep the damage up and continue to be tricksy. Defenders don't have much of an advantage against Hunters, and neither do Ologs. His hardest matchup by far will be against Orthog. Orthog is highly resistant to poison and gets enraged by it. He also has tools to get in close and is able to deal damage at range with his crossbows and throwing blades. If Ratak is to beat Orthog, he needs to throw a few spears to start with, smoke bomb away and continue to land them. As long as Orthog doesn't rampage to get back health, he can win. The fifth Orc to make it through to the semi-finals was Pushcrimp the Bloody. Having achieved his goal of becoming a pterodactyl, he became a scourge on the battlefield. He takes damage from fire and poison, so some Orcs in this competition will rejoice. As a defender, he has obvious advantages. However, as a Slaughterer tribe member, he has ways of attacking at range with those cursed cleavers. He has incredibly strong Ologs, but will become dazed when they fall. Will empathy be his weakness? Pushcrimp is immune to none of the Orcs in this competition. He is also enraged by none. His cursed damage is resisted by Tuka, Skoth, Ratak, and Arpratu, and enrages nobody. The sixth Orc to make it through to the semi-finals was Arpratu Mapkeeper. Arpratu will do anything to achieve his goal, including roasting everything in his path. He's immune to poison and curse damage, and is a tank, so can regenerate health if left to do so. That ability combined with thick skin will make him very difficult to take down if not focused. He has use of flame weapons and a mighty fire thrower, which he uses to great effect. He has a gang of Ologs, and if they should fall, he will be briefly dazed while he mourns their loss. Arpratu is immune to Ratak and Pushcrimp's damage, but is enraged by nothing. He's quite composed for a pyromaniac. His fire is resisted by Tuka, Shekhar, Ratak, and Orthog. It also enrages Orthog. So the third fight will be between Pushcrimp the Bloody and Arpratu Mapkeeper, the Battle of Empathy. This will be a hard fight for Pushcrimp, as Arpratu has ways of lighting Pushcrimp on fire and taking out his Ologs. Arpratu also has thick-skinned and is immune to Pushcrimp's Cursed. This is one of his harder matchups, and if he is to win, he needs to get in executions where he can and block melee damage from Arpratu. As long as his Ologs aren't targeted, they can provide some stuns, and Pushcrimp's defense won't drop. He is hoping that Arpratu's gang drops before his, so he can take advantage of that daze to close the match. The fight is much more straightforward for Arpratu. He just needs to keep the damage up and burn everything. If Pushcrimp takes the fight, he'll be facing either Orthog or Mog in the finals. Orthog is not immune to curse damage, so Pushcrimp just needs to keep up the defense and whittle Orthog down. The fire will be a problem though, and if he doesn't panic and his gang doesn't drop, he has a strong chance of taking it. Mog, on the other hand, is almost a mirror match. Neither will get enraged, but Mog has that shield, quake, and rampage. For Pushcrimp to take it, he has to utilize his powerful gang to disrupt Mog and provide an opening. If Pushcrimp makes it to the grand final, he'll be facing either Tuka, Skoth, Shekhar, or Ratak. Shekhar is the only one that doesn't resist the curse, but is still not his best matchup. He'll have the best chance against Skoth, who he can block damage from with that shield and throw out cleavers, if Skoth gets too far away. As long as his Ologs aren't targeted, he can take the match with good defense. Ratak and Tuka are his hardest matchups, Ratak being able to get around that shield and Tuka resisting curse and being able to apply the fire. Both will have no trouble getting through the Ologs as well, so Pushcrimp needs to pray to the mighty Quetzalcoatlus to keep up the guard if he has a hope of taking it. If Arpratu takes round 3 against Pushkrim, he'll be facing either Orthog or Mog in the finals. Orthog is the hardest matchup for him, as he's both immune to and enraged by fire. Orthog also will attack too fast for the Olog to recover, especially if his gang drops. For Arpratu to win, he needs a lot of executions to come out quickly before he's stun locked. Mog is a much easier fight for him, and this will be one of his better matchups in the game. Mog doesn't resist fire and will struggle to avoid the powerful Olog executions. If Arpratu can panic Mog, he can easily take victory. If Arpratu makes it through the grand final, he'll be facing either Tuka, Skoth, Shekhar or Ratak. Skoth is the only one of the 3 that takes fire damage, so you would think that would be his best matchup. However, Skoth has an advantage over the slow Olog, especially with his smoke bomb and great strength. The better matchup would be Shekhar, as long as he can outlast the Enrage. With Arpratu's high health, he can, and then he will pump out the damage while Shekhar is dazed. Being immune to Ratak has its perks, but Ratak is even more mobile than Skoth. Tuka on the other hand will be hard to breach, as the decoys will be keeping Arpratu lit up, and if he panics, it's game over. If he has a hope of winning, he needs to get in fast, apply execution damage and get Tuka low enough that he can finish him. The 7th Orc to make it through to the semi-finals was none other than Orthog of Lithlad, who is now giving Tuka a run for his money in terms of popularity. He has no weaknesses and a bevy of strength that make him one of the favourites to take the tournament. He's immune to fire completely, and if that wasn't enough, he's also enraged by it. He's enraged by being heavily damaged as well as being damaged by poison. Though he isn't immune to poison, he heavily resists it with his epic trait. He's a berserker, so he can use a mix of Phosphoro Dars, Rampages and Flying Swords to dominate his opponents. Enough Phosphoro Dars on the opponent and they become terrified, ending the match. Rampages give him back health, which has saved him in the past. Flying Swords apply the fire damage at range, and he is also a Marauder, so he gets those twin crossbows to hit at those enemies he can't reach. His weapons are fire and has a gang of savages. When comparing to others, we can see that he's immune to Tuka and Arpratu's fire. He's enraged by Tuka, Ratak and Arpratu. His fire damage is resisted by Tuka, Shekhar and Ratak, and it enrages nobody. The 8th and final Orc to make it through the semi-finals is Mog the Thinker, and he thought long and hard about his domination, and he thinks better than all the rest. He isn't immune to anything, but is enraged by poison. Being a berserker as well, he gets access to Phosphoro Dars, which can terrify enemies, a Rampage to get his health back, and a Shield Quake to disrupt his enemies. If his enemy is too elusive, he can use his Machine Hook, think Scorpion from Mortal Kombat, to bring them closer. He is also a defender that comes with obvious perks. If he gets enraged, he'll stay enraged for a very long time. When comparing to other Orcs in the competition, we can see that he is affected by and affects relatively no one. He's immune to none, enraged only by Ratak, which seems to be a common theme, and is resisted by no one, and enrages no one. He thought long and hard about this strategy. The 4th match will be between Orthog of Lithlad and Mog the Thinker. Having no elemental damage, Mog will not enrage Orthog until the very end, so this gives him an advantage. Mog can disrupt Orthog and stop him putting out the damage with a mix of Rampage and Shield Quake as long as he keeps his guard up, gets chip damage in and doesn't panic. He can take the win. Orthog on the other hand just needs to keep the fire damage on Mog. When low, he needs to enrage, Rampage and take the win. This is one of the harder matchups, so if he takes out Mog, it'll be easier sailing for him. If Orthog moves on to the finals, he'll be facing either Pushkrimp or Arpratu. Both seemingly fairly easy matchups for him, with Arpratu being the easier as he is immune to and enraged by Arpratu's primary way of dishing out the pain. Orthog is also much quicker and has more tools available to him. Pushkrimp on the other hand will take the fire damage, but can still apply a curse right back. With his Rampages, Orthog can take out Pushkrimp's gang, and if he does, secure the win with Reckless Onslaught. If Orthog moves on to the grand finals, he'll be facing either Tuka, Skoth, Shekhar or Ratak. Shekhar will possibly be one of his harder matchups, being completely immune to fire and not enraging Orthog until the end. Shekhar can pump out damage fast and it might be too much for Orthog to handle. If he can get enraged and start pumping out the Rampages, he can win it. Ratak and Skoth will both be the easier matchups, Orthog just needing to close the distance or use his range options before their great strength takes him out. If he can rampage to mitigate the damage, he'll be in for the win. The match a lot of people want to see though is Orthog versus Tuka. Orthog will be in the state of permanent enrage, but Tuka will resist the fire. Tuka's decoys will provide some stun and, as well as his bolus and shield bashes, he'll be in with a chance. Orthog would need to avoid the shield if he is to take this matchup, and he needs to be unrelenting. If Mog beats Orthog in match 4, he'll be facing Push Crimp or Arpratu. Arpratu is his worst matchup as Mog doesn't resist the fire and the power of the Olog. For Mog to stand a chance, he needs to take out Arpratu's gang. Using shield quakes and his spear, he can then unleash with rampages to get his health back and secure victory. If he faces Push Crimp, it's an easier fight. Defender versus defender, and he just needs to take out Push Crimp's gang and simultaneously avoid their stuns. Shield Quake, like in most situations, will be his friend in this matchup, along with Rampage and Phosphor Dars. Mog will take the match if it goes late, as that Terrify will apply. If Mog makes it to the grand final, he'll be facing either Tuka, Skoth, Shekhar or Ratak. His best matchup is against Skoth, who he can try to lock down with an AoE stun and Phosphor Dars. He also can sit behind the shield, block the arrows and use a machine hook to bring him close. Ratak enrages Mog, so this may give him the advantage against him, even though Ratak can get past the shield and win through poison damage. His worst matchup is Tuka, who can keep the fire damage up, block most of Mog's attacks and can bomb him. For Mog to win, he needs to use, you guessed it, Shield Quake to take out the decoys, and he needs to make sure he doesn't panic from fire damage. Then he needs to execute Tuka through his high HP pool. So hopefully this has given you some ideas of who you want to back, but frankly, I think you just gotta go with your gut. Some orcs might seem a little cooler than others, and I don't blame you for voting that way. So how do you actually vote? Well, first, you follow the link below which will take you here. Then you need to follow the steps to enter. First, you have to be subscribed to Potates, that's a given. Next, you need to know what you're talking about, so you have to have watched all 4 qualifiers. If you have already watched all 4, you can skip just to the end. The final step is choosing who you think will win the grand final. I know it's a hard choice, but give it your best shot. I'll be closing the voting just before I release the video containing the semi-finals, the finals, and the grand final matches, so no one can change their vote. Hopefully, you guys are excited as I am for the finals, soon to come. Thanks for watching, guys. I had a lot of fun making this video and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and click that little bell below. And if you haven't already, be sure to join my Discord. It's full of fantastic, like-minded individuals, and you get to talk to me directly as well. So, I'm Potates, and I'll see you next time.